The 2023 NFL season is over. We have the same Super Bowl champions, 25-22 Niners lose to the defending Kansas City Chiefs in Las Vegas. All right, let's talk about this from all the different angles. We're going to do three things I saw, just like we did last year. Actually, this is the 1 year anniversary of three things I saw. So there's a plethora of ways that we can do this. We can talk about Mahomes, which we will. We can talk about Shanahan, which we will. We can talk about Purdy, which we will. We can talk about Spags, which we will. And we can talk about as a whole why I think that the national media and the public are, first of all, not giving enough credit to the Chiefs. I know, sounds crazy, but that's been kind of my consensus over the last 12 hours. Got a chance to sleep on it, watched the game obviously, and had a lot of thoughts. So let's dissect here. First of all, the game itself, post game win expectancy, Chiefs 37%. That is not opponent adjusted, so that's just the raw data of the game. The Chiefs fumbled 7 times, recovered 6 of them. Niners muffed a punt, didn't recover. McCaffrey fumbled on the first drive of the game. It was a really sloppy game. But when you look at the overall numbers, possession, Niners 38 minutes, Chiefs 36. First downs, 24-23 Chiefs. Both teams had similar yards. Niners had about 60 less yards. Yards per play was pretty much dead even. So from a down-to-down perspective, there were times where both these teams struggled. The Chiefs had how many first downs in the first half? They had only 3 points. They didn't have a first down in the first quarter. They were struggling. And the Niners were really moving the ball the first couple of drives. And then it was 0-0 at the end of the first. They're like, well, the Niners should have at least a touchdown, maybe more. McCaffrey fumbled on the first drive. That never happens. So they were letting the Chiefs hang in, and the Chiefs obviously get the points right before halftime. Kyle Shanahan, that was the first, okay, like, what are you doing? Are you drunk? Like, what are you doing? Call the timeouts. And it was clear that he just wanted to go into halftime, didn't want to worry about, trying to push down the field for a field goal. I understand it. Mahomes throws a pick on 3rd and long, first drive at a halftime. Then the Chiefs go 3 and out their next drive. By the way, sandwich between those two, Niners go 3 and out with drives that started at the Chiefs 44 and their own 40. And I tweeted, and I was like, feel like in 10 years, we could be talking about the fact that the Niners had golden field position, one drive starting in the opponent's territory, went 3 and out, 6 plays, -2 yards, just over 2 minutes of possession. Chiefs go down the field, get a field goal, punt, muff punt, Chiefs touchdown, Niners touchdown, and then we're like, okay, we have a game now. And then field goal, end of the fourth quarter, overtime. Both teams settle for field goals. And when the Chiefs were going down there at the end of the game, they ran mesh to Kelsey, or it might have been, no, it was Kelsey because he got tackled down the sideline. And they're like, the Chiefs are going to get an end zone shot. Are they going to end it right here? And they didn't. We got overtime. So overtime. Again, Shanahan, you weren't great yesterday, buddy. You were not good at all. Spags beat you, and we'll talk about Spags. But the coin toss, you don't take the ball. You don't take the ball. There are new rules in the NFL for overtime. I guess the Niners didn't know, and that has been confirmed, which is ridiculous coaching. You don't take the ball first. I know over like a million games of sample, it doesn't matter a whole lot, but I think it mattered last night because the Chiefs said, we knew we needed a touchdown. We weren't going to give them the ball back. I thought an interesting note on the game where I feel like a lot of people were really confused at the clock rules, and they were thinking that, so the Chiefs ran their last play with a running clock. It was a last play of the quarter, and I feel like a lot of people thought that the game would have been over if the Chiefs didn't score that final play. It's not. The way the the new overtime works is that basically it's the start of a new game. So the first overtime is the first quarter. So all that would happen if the clock ends is they just flip the field and you get a new 10 or 15 or whatever it is. I think it's 15. You get a new 15. So you get to finish your drive. It's just the end of the first quarter, which is weird. I think there should be a 2-minute warning. I feel like there should be a 2-minute warning. That doesn't really matter. So The Chiefs go 13 plays, 75 yards, 7 minutes on the final drive to score a touchdown. It was the longest drive of the game for any team. Niners had a 75-yard drive in there, but that was a minute and a half less in time. So it was the best drive any team had in the game, and that makes sense. Overall, I thought it was a great game. I thought the defense was really good for most of the game, and then the offense picked it up when the defense got tired, and we got to see some really cool shit. Mahomes ended up with 333 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pretty good. 34 of 46. He was the leading rusher on the team. That showed. It's Mahomes. He's Thanos. He's Iron Man. He's Superman. He's everything that anyone has ever called him. It is true. And I remember sitting here last year saying, you guys are going to try to claim Jalen Hurts as a top 3 quarterback because of his performance in a losing effort to Mahomes. Now, we're not going to do the same thing with Purdy, but anyone who goes against this guy is seen as this movable object, and when he actually performs well, his stock really increases. Well, I think Purdy performed really well yesterday. But the point is, last year I said, like, nobody is ever close. It was never Burrow. It was never Herbert. It was never Josh Allen. It was not Trevor Lawrence. It's not Jalen Hurts. It's not Brock Purdy. Who's next? It was Lamar for like a week, and then Lamar had that performance against the Chiefs at home. So Lamar is banished from that conversation ever. And look, everyone's gonna say, "Oh, the only person that could beat him is Joe Burrow." Blah 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 blah. As a Bengals fan, that's really annoying, because as a franchise, if we're holding on to the fact that we beat Mahomes in the playoffs and then lost 2 weeks later, what does that say about us as a franchise? So no, like I don't like that. But 3 things I saw. I'm going to pull up some notes that I have because they're important, and we're going to give everybody some numbers that we should all know. So I mentioned the 39% post-game win expectancy. Really bad fumble luck for the Niners. That's how it goes. And I hate social media on the Super Bowl. It's the worst because people act like this is not just another NFL game. It is, with as much randomness and variance and stupid coaching decisions and bad play calls and everything as any other NFL game. Just because it's a Super Bowl, they're not playing a different game. And the Niners lost because of some bad variance. Now, because of some bad coaching and some bad execution, and Mahomes on the other sideline. But the numbers back it up that the Niners should have won this game, and they screwed it up. They screwed the pooch. Their coach didn't know the overtime rules. He got really, really cute when he didn't need to. He didn't use his timeouts in the first half. Could have gotten more points. They had an extra point blocked. They muffed a punt. Purdy was, dare I say, as good as he could have been. Could we really have expected Purdy to be that much better? I don't think so. I thought Purdy played well enough to win. I don't think Purdy played bad. But we'll get into that in a sec. So I'm going to say this, and this is not one of those post Super Bowl, I already missed the NFL crazy takes that I'm trying to get clicks. I really believe this, and for a variety of different reasons. Shout out to Warren Sharp for pretty much all this data. This is the reason why I am fielding this take, because I haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to say it, and I'm going to be the one to be like, oh, you are fucking insane. So the Chiefs, first of all, they go back-to-back for the first time in 20 years. That's not being talked about. I mean, the hardest thing to do in professional sports is win back-to-back Super Bowls, and they just did it. But everyone wants to talk about Kelsey and Swift and Mahomes, and not the fact that they literally just did probably the hardest thing to do in professional sports. Like, from a accolade championship standpoint. Obviously, like, 4 home runs in a game or 4,000 hits. No. Championship accolades aside, or individual accolades aside, statistical performances aside, strictly just championship accolades. The hardest thing to do in professional sports is win back-to-back Super Bowls. And the Chiefs did it. So that's number one, because the preseason, it was hard. It was going to be hard. No matter who's playing quarterback, no matter who they play, no matter how bad the receivers are, it was going to be hard. And it was going to be harder than anything that a team can do, is try to win back-to-back. So this was supposed to be the year to knock off the Chiefs, right? In preseason, oh, Ravens, great. Bengals, let's go. Back-to-back AFC Championship appearances, let's go. Chargers, Herbert, new OC, let's go. Dolphins, Tua, they're scoring 1,000,000 points a game, let's go. And of course, Josh Allen always has been the guy. I'll go against Mahomes. I'm not scared. It was loaded. It was a great conference, and then it wasn't. Herbert got hurt. Burrow got hurt. Chargers sucked. The Dolphins were never legit. And then the Ravens just shit every opportunity away at a win at home. And then obviously the Bills, okay, they lost. This was supposed to be the year to knock them off. Mahomes was the most expensive player in the NFL, just under $40 million. Say what you want about that contract. It's really good, and he's underpaid per the cap. He's getting his money, but he's underpaid per the cap. The most expensive player in the NFL. The offensive line, as good as they have played in stretches this year, was weakened. It was not a standard Mahomes offensive line, yet they showed the stats in the broadcast a few times about the fact that he just doesn't get sacked ever. And it's true. He doesn't, because even when he's pressured, he doesn't get sacked. But trust me, the Niners gave him they tried last night. They hit him a couple of times. It was I feel like the most that we've seen Mahomes fall in a game in a while. And then that was credit to the Niners defensive line. Bosa had a fantastic game. I would have given Bosa MVP if they would have won that game, personally. The wide receiver one was a rookie. They were forced to play 6 straight games at a rest disadvantage from weeks 12 to 17. The only time that a team has had to do that in NFL history. They had to play in Germany. And all of those things were clear in the regular season. The wide receivers were bad. The offensive line wasn't great. The schedule was really brutal. And it showed. They went 10-7. It was not a great regular season for the Chiefs. They had to go on the road 2 times in the playoffs. So here's a stat. Every single year Mahomes has been quarterback up until this year. Entering the playoffs, the Chiefs were 5-1 or better. 5-1, 4-1, 3-1, 2-1 to win the Super Bowl. So it was within that realm. This year they were 10-1 entering the playoffs. This was not a good team, and they won the Super Bowl. They didn't get a first-round bye. They had to play on the road in the divisional round and the conference championship against the only 2 quarterbacks in the league that got MVP votes. Lamar got all of them, and then Josh Allen got one. As an underdog on the road. They were underdogs in the Super Bowl, and they were trailing by double digits. It was the toughest path per DVOA, the toughest path to a Super Bowl based on strength of opponent faced ever since 1981 when DVOA was a thing. And they won the Super Bowl, and they won back-to-back. So I'm going to say this. Don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me, because I swear I believe this. This is the most impressive championship in the history of sports. When you factor in, first of all, how fucking hard it is to win in the NFL. Second of all, the fact that before the season, they were trying to debunk 20 plus years of history in a sport where history tells all the stories. And 3, did you watch them play from October to December? That wasn't a Super Bowl team. And it showed in the odds. If they had like Josh Allen at quarterback, they would have been 20-1 to win the Super Bowl. No chance. But they had Mahomes, and they always have Mahomes. And it never matters with him. It's this unspeakable ability that he has to always have a chance. In 96 career games, 114 playoff games, or 114 games combined between playoffs and regular season, Mahomes has lost by more than 1 score 3 times. At his worst, he's competitive. At his best, simply unbeatable. And the most impressive championship title in the history of professional sports. All right, so that was kind of 1 and 2 mixed together. I don't really want to talk about Shanahan. It doesn't really float my boat. He didn't coach a good game. What are they going to do? Fire him? What are they going to do? You know, he didn't coach a good game. Another blown double-digit lead in the Super Bowl for Kyle Shanahan, and this one was well deserved because look, I know the fumble luck and the muffed punt, and I know Mahomes, I know, but Shanahan was really bad. He did not coach a good game. He was bad. So let's talk about another thing that I think he's getting his credit, but not enough. So let's do it. Spags, Spagnola, Stevie Boy, MVP. He's the MVP. I know that we don't give MVPs to coaches because it's forbidden. You have to give it to a player. Steve Spagnuolo was the most important player on either sideline last night, not including Mahomes. So DVOA goes back to 1981. And by the way, Spagnuolo becomes the only coordinator ever to win 4 Super Bowls. 3 with the Chiefs, 1 with the Giants. We'll get to that. So DVOA goes back to 1981. The 3 teams that were the best teams in DVOA to lose in the Super Bowl. So the 3 best overall teams in the history of the DVOA database that ended up going on to lose in the Super Bowl. The 07 Patriots, the 2019 Niners, they were number 3. The 2023 Niners, they were number 2. What do those 3 teams all have in common? Amazing offenses, high-powered offenses, led by some of the smartest minds in the history of the league. They all lost to Steve Spagnuolo in the Super Bowl. All 3 of them. 07 Giants, Spags. That was his first year with the Giants as DC. 19 Spags. What was that, year 2? No, that was year 1. Year 1. So twice he's had a new job and then won the Super Bowl as a DC and beat a high-powered offense to do it. And then, of course, he won this year's, and this was the greatest, unreal performance from Spags. The 2 plays that I want to focus on, the 3rd and 4, last drive in regulation for San Fran, sent an all-out blitz, got to Purdy, couldn't even get the ball out, would landed at Ayuk's feet. That was ballsy. And then 3rd and goal. Niners ended up leaving Chris Jones unblocked. Get a nice pressure package in there. I know Ayuk was wide open on a button route at the top, but Purdy couldn't have the time. I feel like if he set his feet and maybe looked the other way, he would have thrown it, but I'm not the quarterback. That's not my job. Anyways, Spagnuolo should get his flowers. This guy, time after time again. And it's funny because these Chiefs units, they haven't been always great. Like, I look at the 2019 team always as a great example, a great benchmark of Spagnuolo's tenure with the Chiefs. That was not a great unit. That wasn't. But in the playoffs, they turned it on, and it was all Spags. Now, this time around, it was the unit. The unit was spectacular all year. And that is not just because they have drafted well. Because when you have a guy like McDuffie and Chanel and Bolton and Snead and Karlaftis, save the Chris Jones stuff in a sec. All of those guys are young. Most of them are on their rookie contracts, and they're playing at an all-pro level. They go so deep up front. They have 2 Pro Bowl linebackers. They have 2 shutdown all-pro corners. They've drafted spectacularly, and I don't know how much say or leeway he actually has in the personnel, like decision-making from like a draft and free agency perspective. I'm sure he has some, but Brent Veach does a great job. But the fact that Spags has brought these guys in to fit his defensive scheme and just straight up let these guys dominate is unbelievable. There's no one else doing it. Maybe Mike McDonald, but now he's gone. So I don't know if Spags is ever going to get a head coaching job again because he's going to go down as probably the worst NFL head coach ever. Definitely top 5. But he has reshaped his legacy and is abso-fucking-lutely a Hall of Famer. There's no question. I saw one guy say, oh, well, he was a bad head coach. He's not a Hall of Famer. Bullshit. Bullshit, this guy's not a Hall of Famer. Simply one of the clutchest, decorated, intelligent, defensive minds that has ever came into this league. How many times has Bill Belichick given Steve Spagnuolo props? Countless times. Countless times. So that's my take on Spags. This was just a quick Super Bowl. I am honestly really glad the NFL season's over. This was a weird year. Oh, I did want to say one more thing. Going back to my my Chiefs, this is the most impressive championship performance ever. Another reason for that is there was more attention on this Chiefs team this year for some reasons, certain pop star, mega star, but it's true. They were the most watched team, and there was more attention given to them than any team ever in the history of American sports. I promise you that's true. Who else would it be? The NFL in 2023 is going to generate over $1 billion of revenue. The Super Bowl was watched by over 150 million people. And we'll get those exact data points later. They were in prime time. Everybody was watching. There was a whole demographic of non-football fans, a demographic that supersedes anything, any other sport except for professional football. That demographic was now enriched in the Chiefs and the NFL. They were the most paid attention to team throughout the season, and especially in the playoffs, than any team in the history of American sports. And they won the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl. It didn't matter. A target on their backs, everyone praying for them to lose, to crown a new champion. The Niners' redemption story, none of it mattered. They won the Super Bowl, and they did it back-to-back years for the first time in 20-plus years. So they debunked history. They shooed away all of the new attention that was massive, and they overcame gruesome scheduling spots throughout the regular season and did what they had never done before. And they went on the road not once, but twice as an underdog and won 3 playoff games in a row as an underdog, trailing in 2 of those games and by double digits in the last. The most impressive championship team in the history of professional sports.